As MLB's postseason rages on, more October heroes begin to make a name for themselves or add on to their already established legacy. But in between those heroic performances are some surefire duds which usually lead to a team's entire season ending. Today, we're going to talk about those players. Last week, I did the least valuable lineup when it came to postseason stats, and today we're doing the least valuable pitching staff. And also, one more thing, a quick shout out to Nike. We have an awesome new partnership with them, so go check out my affiliate link in the description down below to shop awesome Nike gear. You can get yourself a pair of shoes that look just like this. Oh, nice. Well, it's a list about bad postseason pitching, so you know exactly where we're starting. Only 7 pitchers have ever amassed 190 innings pitched in the postseason, and they're some of the greatest pitchers in the history of the sport. One of those pitchers is Clayton Kershaw, and everyone knows that his playoff resume pales in comparison to his contemporaries. Clayton Kershaw has pitched in the playoffs this year, and his oldest postseason appearance came as early as 2008 when he was just 20 years old. But his first real playoff heartbreak came in 2013, his first postseason run as the official ace of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Heading into Game 6 of the National League Championship Series, he had dealt 19 innings and just allowed a single earned run through 3 starts. With the Dodgers on the road in St. Louis looking to even the series and force a Game 7, Kershaw was battered around out of nowhere, allowing 7 earned runs and 10 hits in just 4 innings of work. Kershaw hadn't allowed more than 5 earned runs in any outing that season, and he had allowed a number as high as 7 just once in his past 3 seasons. He had saved one of the worst outings of his career for one of his biggest moments, and this unfortunately would set the tone going forward. In a rematch the following year in 2014 during the division series, Kershaw finished off 6 innings with only 2 hits allowed, both of which being solo home runs. The Dodgers were leading 6-2, and Kershaw had thrown just 81 pitches in his redemption tour against the Cardinals. Manager Don Mattingly sent him back out for the 7th. In something that you would never see in modern baseball, the Cardinals led off the inning with 3 straight singles, but Don Mattingly left the southpaw in the game. 2 more hits came and went, and now the score was 6-4, but Don Mattingly wouldn't budge. With the bases loaded and 2 outs, Matt Carpenter and Clayton Kershaw battled for 8 pitches, with Kershaw letting up the bases clearing go-ahead double to give St. Louis a 7-6 lead. Finally, after 110 pitches, Don Mattingly pulled the plug on his ace. Of course, after the damage was done. The Cardinals would steal Game 1 and eventually win the series, and all fingers would be pointed at Clayton Kershaw. In 2017, against the wildcard winning Arizona Diamondbacks, Clayton Kershaw became just the 9th pitcher in MLB history to allow 4 home runs in a single playoff outing. It's been done 5 more times since this division series game, but it doesn't change the fact that Kershaw's 1.5 home run per 9 rate is tied for the highest mark of any pitcher with at least 100 playoff innings, alongside his former teammate Zach Greinke. Much of Clayton Kershaw's playoff resume follows a similar tone of heartbreak. He struck out 11 batters and won Game 1 of the 2017 World Series, but people remember that a whole lot less than his Game 5 meltdown where he didn't make it past the 3rd inning and set up the Dodgers to lose a pivotal Game 5 matchup against the Astros. He tossed a quality start in Game 2 of the 2019 Division Series against the Washington Nationals, but people remember that a lot less than the back-to-back home runs he allowed in Game 5 to blow a 3-1 lead late. And in his last 3 playoff outings, Kershaw has allowed 13 earned runs in just 7 1/3 innings of work. Probably not to your surprise, of all pitchers with at least 100 postseason innings, no one comes close to Clayton Kershaw's 4.63 lifetime ERA. Only Andy Pettitte and Tom Glavine have had as many games allowing 6 earned runs or more in postseason history. Clayton Kershaw has plenty of great October memories, but it's outnumbered by the amount of postseason heartbreaks. You can certainly blame his managers setting him up for failure, or even Kershaw himself for hanging on maybe a little bit too long, but it doesn't change the fact that one of the greatest pitchers in the entire history of the sport will forever be lamented for easily the most shockingly bad postseason resume of all. But that'll bring an end to the obligatory Clayton Kershaw section, so let's see what else we got. Also, hey there, you might notice that I'm recording from a different location right now. That's because I didn't originally write a Kershaw section into the script, and then he got roughed up again, this time by the Philadelphia Phillies, and I thought, I can't just ignore it. We got to talk about it, even if it's been talked about to death at this point. Believe it or not, it is a rare distinction to get at least 30 postseason innings pitched. It essentially guarantees that a pitcher was either on a single deep postseason run and was trusted enough on their staff to pitch in multiple season-altering games. The only worst distinction is owning the highest ERA of all time by a pitcher with this many playoff innings, and that dishonor unfortunately belongs to former Cy Young winner, right-handed pitcher Jake Peavy. Peavy won World Series rings in consecutive seasons with the 2013 Red Sox and 2014 Giants, and definitely had some good starts mixed in there, but overall his 7.98 ERA and 1.83 whip is far and away the highest of any pitcher with at least 30 postseason innings, making him a shoo-in for today's list. Peavy had the seismic task of taking on the St. Louis Cardinals offense in his earliest postseason outings with the Padres in 2005 and 2006. This meant facing the ferocious lineup of Albert Pujols, Jim Edmonds, Larry Walker, and Scott Rowland, among others. He allowed 13 earned runs and 19 hits in a little over 9 innings combined between these two games started. It didn't help that in the earlier season, Jake Peavy broke a rib while celebrating the division title with the club just days before his Game 1 start. Overall, Peavy's teams went 2-7 lifetime in games that he started in the playoffs, his first win coming in a series-clinching division series game against the Tampa Bay Rays in 2013. In the rest of that run for Boston, Peavy allowed 9 earned runs in 7 innings. His final postseason trip with the 2014 Giants was shaping up to be his best, until Peavy completely imploded in Game 6 of the World Series. He didn't escape the second inning while allowing 5 earned runs, paving the way for a dominant 10-0 victory for the Royals, thereby forcing a Game 7 in that series. Peavy falls on a fairly select list of just 20 pitchers in the history of the league that have allowed 5 or more earned runs in a playoff start at least 4 times, many of whom own far more impressive playoff resumes. But in the end, all that really matters is the results at the end of October, and Jake Peavy walked away with plenty of hardware late in his career, so I imagine the numbers don't bother him all that much. Someone who never got their hands on a World Series ring despite 6 different postseason trips with 3 different teams is right-handed pitcher Jarrett Wright, who I doubt comes to your mind when you're thinking of pitchers with deep playoff resumes. Surprisingly though, Jarrett Wright does eclipse the 50-inning mark, putting him in rare air when it comes to October baseball history. It's just that history for him specifically is not particularly kind, with the highest postseason ERA of anyone with this many playoff innings. His earliest outings came as a bright-eyed rookie on the 1997 Cleveland Indians, who made it all the way to Game 7 of the World Series. On a team with a beastly offense that was starved for quality starting pitching, the 21-year-old rose to the occasion with a handful of quality starts on this run. He tossed 3 different quality starts, 2 of those coming in the World Series. The Indians went 4-1 when Wright took the ball that October, with the lone loss coming in Game 7 of the World Series. This was through no fault of Jarrett Wright, who held the Florida Marlins to 1 run through 6 1/3 innings. However, it's not crazy to suggest that these performances doomed the Cleveland Indians long term. It's been well documented that the organization refused to part with Jarrett Wright via trade in the offseason that followed. His name was asked for in various trade offers, including one from the Montreal Expos that would have sent Pedro Martinez to Cleveland in exchange for both Jarrett Wright and Bartolo Colon. In the end, Pedro would end up as the ace of the Boston Red Sox, shutting out Cleveland for 10 innings in the 1999 ALDS to end their season. It doesn't stop there. Indians general manager John Hart had an opportunity to right this wrong in the 1998 season, but instead balked again at a trade that would have sent outfielder Brian Giles and Jarrett Wright to the Seattle Mariners in exchange for the great Randy Johnson at that year's trade deadline. Johnson was instead traded to the Astros, and he put together one of the best second halves of pitching ever, helping them make the playoffs. So those historic starts by a no-name 21-year-old in 1997 essentially prevented Cleveland from acquiring one of 2 different greatest aces of that generation. Okay, Cleveland fans, I'm sorry, I'm done twisting the knife, okay? I'm done. Removing his 1997 outings, Wright's postseason resume beyond that is where most of these inflated numbers come from. In Game 1 of the 1998 American League Championship Series, Jarrett Wright didn't escape the first inning, allowing 5 earned runs total to the New York Yankees. In Game 3 of the 1999 Division Series, Wright couldn't escape the 3rd inning, in what was eventually a 9-3 victory for the Boston Red Sox. That outing came with a 2-0 series lead that Cleveland would eventually blow, as their pitching staff allowed an inconceivable 44 earned runs in the final 3 games of that series. Jarrett Wright endured a loss of control and was highly susceptible to the long ball when it came to his October outings. He owns the highest home run per 9 rate at 2.6 of any pitcher with at least 50 playoff innings, surpassing Yu Darvish. His 5.5 walk per 9 rate is only outdone by Tug McGraw, who somehow managed a 2.24 ERA while allowing all of that traffic. And yet, time and time again, he found himself on contending October teams getting the ball in huge games. Before we move on with today's video though, I gotta thank Neutrifol for sponsoring me yet again. Neutrifol wants to help baseball fans show off what's under their cap with thicker, stronger hair that they can feel confident showing off. Neutrifol is the #1 hair growth supplement in the game, clinically proven to show results within 3 to 6 months. Neutrifol and baseball are all about consistency, showing up day after day, season after season. Because when you get to the biggest moments, nothing should hold you back. So click the link down below and visit Neutrifol.com to get $10 off your first month subscription and join the millions seeing thicker, stronger hair. Thanks to Neutrifol for sponsoring yet another video, and now let's get back to today's list. The rest of the guys you see on today's list all have less than 20 innings pitched in October, which means you're about to see some absolutely crazy numbers. First man up with a shorter sample size is right-hander Mike Clevenger. Clevenger made the playoffs in 5 different seasons with both Cleveland and San Diego, the most notable of which coming in 2016 when the Indians made it to Game 7 of the World Series. Okay, I said I was done twisting the knife, and then I was writing the script, and then there I go again. It's so weird how that just happens naturally. Throughout his playoff tenure with Cleveland, he pitched mostly out of the bullpen, compiling underwhelming numbers overall. His statistics ballooned thanks to his brutal performances with the 2022 Padres. In his National League Division Series outing against the Dodgers, Clevenger allowed 8 base runners and 5 runs, failing to escape the 3rd inning. That was easily the better of his 2 outings because in Game 4 of the championship series against the Phillies, the right-hander didn't record a single out. Entering the inning with a 4-0 lead in a must-win game, Clevenger went single, homer, walk, and double to the top of the Phillies order, blowing the lead entirely and getting yanked from the game after just 15 pitches. Clevenger makes it on today's list for his complete lack of control when it came to his playoff outings. Of pitchers with at least 15 postseason innings pitched, no one besides Clevenger has ever surpassed a 10.0 walk per 9, meaning Clevenger has more walks issued than innings completed. This naturally left him with the highest whip in the same qualifier, one of only 7 pitchers with a mark over 2 in this category. And safe to say, I don't think he's going to get another shot to make those numbers look any better. Our last starting pitcher had just 1 postseason run, but I think it very well may be the worst singular playoff run that any starting pitcher has ever had. While the Milwaukee Brewers have become a pitching factory these days, back in 2011, the club definitely could have used another arm or two. Instead, getting the ball in massive must-win games was right-hander Shawn Marcum, whose absurdly high 14.9 ERA is far and away the worst mark of any pitcher with at least 3 postseason games started. Marcum's regular season numbers as a middle-of-the-rotation guy for the Brewers were pretty productive in 2 seasons, but his performances in the 2011 Division Series and Championship Series handicapped a special roster, with opponents scoring 32 runs total in the 3 games that he pitched in. In Game 3 of the Division Series against the Arizona Diamondbacks, manager Ron Renick's decision to let Marcum face 23-year-old rookie Paul Goldschmidt backfired as he deposited a game-winning grand slam to right field for a 7-1 lead. This was probably some karmic revenge for the grand slam Marcum hit against Arizona on an 0-2 pitch earlier that season. I bet you didn't think you'd see a highlight like that one today, but this is what I bring to the table, people, okay? This is why you click every week, Saturday at noon, okay? Tell a friend. The Brewers overcame that loss and advanced in 5 games, setting up Shawn Marcum for a pair of starts in the championship series against the St. Louis Cardinals. Marcum surrendered 9 earned runs in just 5 innings between those starts, including 5 RBIs to Albert Pujols in Game 2 and a back-breaking 3-run home run to David Freese in the first inning of Game 6. That latter start was especially controversial, as Shawn Marcum got the ball with the season on the line and put his team in a 4-0 hole, departing after just 1 inning. So despite some quality regular season pitching, Marcum is remembered in Milwaukee lore as the man who fell short in 2011, costing them a possible trip to the World Series. I mean, his legacy is either that or the fact that Ryan Braun in his MVP season used Shawn Marcum's name as his fake identity to get the HGH supplements that he'd eventually be suspended for. That's not even a joke. I don't know why he did that, but it's really funny. Now let's finally move over to our bullpen, which features a pair of very notable closers with elite regular season numbers. The first is longtime Minnesota Twins right-hander Joe Nathan, whose postseason sample is only 10 innings but features plenty of action. As most baseball fans know, the Minnesota Twins owned one of the longest droughts in professional sports between postseason victories, and their closer didn't exactly help their case along the way. Before he ever put on that uniform, though, Joe Nathan was greeted rudely in his October debut against the upstart Marlins in the 2003 Division Series, who rocked him for 4 hits and a walk, only allowing the 28-year-old to record a single out. When Joe Nathan's ascent to becoming one of the game's top closers began in 2004, his reputation in the postseason began developing as well. The same year that he would finish 4th in American League Cy Young voting, his implosion in Game 2 of the American League Division Series against the New York Yankees cost his team a 2-0 series lead on the road. After Torrey Hunter's extra inning home run gifted the team a 6-5 lead in the 12th, a pair of one-out walks led to a game-tying ground rule double from Alex Rodriguez off Joe Nathan, paving the way for the eventual walk-off sacrifice fly from Hideki Matsui. New York won that game and the next 2 in a row to claim the series. Facing the same foe in Game 2 of the 2009 American League Division Series, Joe Nathan would blow this game in the span of 8 pitches, after a single and then a game-tying home run from who else but Alex Rodriguez. The Yankees would win the game in 11 innings, then claim the series via sweep just days later. In 6 different postseason trips for 4 different teams, his teams never advanced past the first round, likely because his teams were 1-9 when they decided to use Joe Nathan out of the bullpen in a playoff game. Not all of those losses are his fault, sure, but the record remains. Joe Nathan and his 377 career saves fell short of remaining on the Hall of Fame ballot in 2022, but a contemporary of his would earn induction just this past year in the form of southpaw Billy Wagner. But much like Joe Nathan, his history in the postseason is a blemish on an otherwise very impressive career. It all began with a 2-out, 2-run home run he allowed to Jim Lieritz in Game 2 of the 1998 Division Series against the San Diego Padres. 2 years later, in Game 1 of the 2001 Division Series, Billy Wagner failed to protect a 3-3 tie with this back-breaking 3-run home run to Chipper Jones, giving Atlanta the series lead and eventual sweep. But fittingly, his most unfortunate performances came in his most unfortunate uniform, that being with the New York Mets. In a tied game in the 8th inning of Game 2, Billy Wagner was battered around for 3 runs, most notably this go-ahead home run from So Taguchi, a player who hit 2 home runs in 134 games that season. That's just typical out of him. That is So Taguchi. Overall, Billy Wagner allowed 13 earned runs in 11 2/3 innings pitched in his postseason career, blowing as many saves as he secured. Last up on today's list is the man with the highest rate of home runs allowed by a reliever in the history of postseason play, that being infamous hothead Hunter Strickland. Unlike the previous 2 candidates, I'm going to cut Hunter Strickland some slack here. Most of his inflated numbers come as a member of the 2014 San Francisco Giants, where he was a 25-year-old rookie with 7 MLB innings pitched before he was entrusted to get massive October outs. Looking for some sort of edge, Strickland was thrown into the fire immediately in Game 1 of the 2014 Division Series. Strickland's playoff career got off to a fitting start when he allowed a pair of solo home runs to Bryce Harper and Asdrubal Cabrera that shrunk a 3-0 Giants lead to a 1-run margin. On this single October run, Strickland pitched in 8 games and allowed 9 hits, 6 of them being home runs. Bryce Harper got him again in Game 4, admiring his game-tying blast into McCovey Cove. Imagine hitting a ball so far that a pitcher has to fight you about it 3 years later. Think about what you were doing 3 years ago today. I bet you can't remember. But Hunter Strickland remembers.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
He pitched mostly in lopsided games in the World Series, which there were plenty of, and he managed to allow 2 more home runs to the light-hitting Kansas City Royals, putting a bow on one of the kookiest postseason stat lines I think you'll ever see. 9 home runs allowed in just 15 1/3 innings pitched. And that was my list for the worst postseason pitching staff of all time. Let me know in the comments down below if I missed someone that you think definitely should have been on the list. Thank you so much for watching today's video to the end. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. That'll do it for me though, and I'll see you guys next time.